Yes, sir, we're finally making it happen. The roles of Black Ops Cold War. We did a series last year on Modern Warfare. It was a blast. It went really, really well. And I am hyped to bring it back this time around. I hyped this up in the League Play 101 video, and I am pumped to finally make it happen today. So without further ado, let's get right into talking about the roles. Let's go. So the roles in Call of Duty are really unique and interesting compared to other esports or sports, or how it kind of plays out. And it's really important to understand the basics of the things that need to happen around the map, so you can have a better idea of what to expect while playing. It allows for so much more anticipation, a better understanding of the game as a whole, what's going on when you're playing. Having a good grasp for what the roles are allows you to identify what your team is missing when you're playing and really help fill those gaps and figure out what you guys are doing wrong as a whole, or what you're doing wrong as a whole inside of your league play match or whatever it is. So first, we'll talk about the difference between positions and roles. And then second, we're going to go through and talk about the difference between the specific things that have to happen around the map, like certain jobs around the map, and the roles themselves. So there are a few layers to this, and we'll be going through it. So like I said, we got positions over here, we got roles over here. The difference is that positions are the guns you use, and then roles are the things you do around the map. So for example, the three positions that you could have are AR, Flex, and SMG. So now that CoD has gone back to 4v4, roles are quite a bit different than they were just last year or in Black Ops 4 and 5v5, and it's even a little bit different than 4v4 games in the past because of how the spawns work in these games and how we play out. We're playing Control now, so there are some minute differences, and we'll address those things in a second. But basically, at its surface, there are 4 roles in competitive CoD, plus quite a few other things that need to happen around the map. And so we're gonna give some NFL examples, because basically the two things I know best in life are football and Call of Duty. And so we'll go through them and give a few examples for you guys who can relate those things as well. So to simplify this a little bit, you have to think about it like there's always at least one AR on the map, there's a Flex, and there's generally 2 SMGs. So that gives you your 4 players right there. Sometimes, depending on the map, there could be, a second Flex or a third AR, if you want to think about it like that. Like sometimes certain maps might justify only having 1 SMG on the map and then 3 ARs, but generally the average meta is 2 SMGs, a Flex, and an AR depending on the map. But again, there is some give and take there as a whole. So each one of those players generally has roles that are associated with those positions, but there are team to team variations depending on what player plays that position. So we'll talk about those things. I know it sounds really confusing on the top or on the surface, but it should make a lot more sense as we go through it. So before we get into the nitty gritty about the roles specifically, let's just talk about the things that need to happen around the map, and then we'll talk specifically about what these mean inside of roles themselves. Overall, the jobs of CoD, you need a Slayer. You need someone to play like support and help the Slayer. You need entry players to head into the hills first. You need an in-game leaders. You need a guy who goes and really tries to secure the spawns early, leaves a certain area of the map where you are right now, and goes to try to play for the new spawns on the new hill. And certain guys really like doing that. And then in S&D, you'd have like a bomb carrier, and then of course like a sniper, pre-GAs of course. And there are some things that are like jobs, more like zone defenses in sports, like in basketball or football, where everyone needs to kind of participate and fill the gaps and do the things that aren't being done currently. And those are things like OBJ or playing the hill. Obviously on certain hills, teams might like designate a certain player because it's a better strategy. Like maybe they want the AR to sit in hill at this point because of this line of sight, etc. That is like a job that is kind of like, first come, first serve, or filling the gap. Then you've got like holding spawns and blocking spawns. That needs to happen for teams where you're trying to make sure that you've got your spawns set up and need to make sure that you're blocking the opposing team's spawns when you're trying to spawn them out. Those types of things have to happen around the map. And then of course, watching flanks, like, being aware of flanks and exposed, and watching or checking flanks in S&D or even in respawn, and ensuring that no one's hit those sides. And then playing for trades, of course, everyone's got to be doing that. If your teammate's alone, another teammate's responsibility is to come and help him and make sure that you can get his trade in the case that he dies. So those are all jobs that just have to continually happen, and it's just a spawn up and fill the job that's not being done currently. And pro players are always sifting through those things and figuring out which ones need to currently happen, which things aren't being done right now, whether that's consciously or subconsciously as pros. So as well, inside of the game modes themselves, these roles are more relevant inside of respawn game modes than they are inside of S&D. S&D is kind of its own thing when it comes to how you play and what needs to happen inside of Search and Destroy. Of course, we have a lot of tips videos on the channel talking about those things, but as a whole, the roles like a main AR or like a support or a Slayer don't really play out inside of S&D, but they're crucial inside of Hardpoint and inside of Control as a whole. So those are the differences. We will be mentioning a few things throughout the video about S&D, like bomb carrying and OBJ and those type of things. Better to probably keep those things in its own separate video, or else this thing's going to be like 45 minutes long. With that said, let's start with the main AR. They're basically the quarterback of the Call of Duty team in a lot of ways. Generally, they're going to have the best communication. They're going to be organizing the troops. Oftentimes, they'll be the in-game leader. Not always, but oftentimes they'll be like an in-game leader, which we'll talk about more in a second as well. The job of a main AR is to play long lines of sight. Sometimes that means playing inside the hill because that's the best power position on the map. The keyword you always hear with the main ARs is the power positions and how main ARs are able to utilize cover and then organize their teammates to push up the map. Main ARs have to be very, very good at playing off of their teammates and positioning themselves very effectively based off of their teammates' positions as well. And so that mini-map awareness, that communication, that leadership is generally pretty important inside of main ARs. Obviously, when you think of main ARs, you're thinking of guys like Crim, Formal, Clay, Skies, Arcitys, guys like that are just fantastic at controlling the map, communicating, organizing their troops. Slashers, another great example of guys that really, really want to have that big picture perspective during the game. So oftentimes that's what makes the main AR so important. Again, there are always exceptions to the rules where some main ARs aren't as vocal as maybe some of the other guys on their team, but generally they're very important inside of that big picture communication on the map as a whole. Now that we've covered the AR or the AR player on the map, let's cover the SMG player, the player that always uses an SMG, usually called the main SMG or the main sub. And almost always the main SMG is basically seen as the Slayer. And so a good NFL comparison would be like a Slayer being like a flashy running back, like a Dalvin Cook, an Alvin Kamara, something like that, where you need the rest of your team to perform and execute their jobs for you to be successful, but you can also make some pretty insane plays on your own and turn nothing into something. And that's what generally these main Slayers are so good at. Guys like Scump, Simp, Shotzzy, dudes who love flying around the map, finding kills, creating map control. Those are all jobs of a Slayer, really pushing out from the hill, creating the map control, establishing the map control for your team, and running rampant between lanes, trying to find those kills. That's where these main SMGs thrive. Again, they do have to play off their teammates and use their teammates in an important way, position themselves to be able to trade kills. And generally, these guys are the best on the map at trading with their teammates, using their teammates as bait in a good way to effectively find kills. And that's why these guys are so important on the map. The map control aspect inside of hardpoint is what is so important, and that comes to play in control as well, while trying to push into the spawns, really be a menace, finding those kills, working the map like that. That's all crucial inside of respawn game modes in Call of Duty, and that's why the Slayer is so highlighted and so important generally, because they've got to find those kills on the map. So now we've got the more complex positions, the flex and generally the second SMG. So there's basically two different types of both of these players. As for the flex, like I said, two different types. There's a Slayer flex or a support flex. So the NFL comparison of a Slayer flex would be someone like the flashy wide receiver. It'd be like the Julio Jones, the Devontae Adams, the DK Metcalf, the DeAndre Hopkins, whatever it is. These guys are out here making big time plays on the map. They also need their quarterback to put them in the right position to succeed, and they generally need those other wide receivers to create space for them on the map. And that's exactly how that works with guys like Dashy, Gunless, Awakening are pretty great examples of like Slayer flexes who really go out of their way to find those kills on the map, create that map control along with their main SMGs. Not always, but often it's only one of these guys slaying at a time, but they generally tend to slay at different points in the game because that's how they specialize and that's how they work. You always have to have at least two guys who are very willing to go out and slay, create map control, and play off their teammates in that way. And Dashy and Scump do that very, very well for OpTic Gaming. So then, like I said, the other type of flex would be a support flex. And this is the guy generally specializes inside of search and destroy, and they're more tactical. They love making those weird type plays. These are guys like, Major Maniac, Illy are interesting examples of like support flexes who can also go out and find those kills, but oftentimes are playing really in a more of a support role with their SMGs and doing what they need them to do to succeed. They're very willing to do the dirty work. They're willing to hop in the hill if need be. They're willing to run their trophies, run their smokes. Obviously not in this game right now. Those guys are so valuable to a team and oftentimes go unnoticed because of the small sacrifices they're making for their teammates. So again, the comparison for a Slayer flex was like the outside wide receiver. Now think of the support flex like the inside wide receiver, the slot guy who's willing to do the dirty work, go underneath, take a big hit in the middle of the field, run those routes that other guys don't love running, but they love getting in the mix. And that's the support support players like this that love doing that type of stuff on the maps as well. So now we've got the last position, the second SMG. And the second SMG is very, very interesting. There's a lot of nuance here with the second SMG on a team and what that could look like for every individual team, depending on how they want to build their squad or push out their strategies. In Black Ops Cold War, there are some different ways to do that, and the roles look a little bit different as a whole. So a good way to think about the second SMG is almost like a change of pace running back in the NFL. For example, the Cleveland Browns have Nick Chubb and they have Kareem Hunt. Two very different types of running backs, but both very, very effective when they're in the games. One's the bruiser, the beatdown, the guy who just loves going straight at the opposing team. Kareem Hunt loves catching the ball, getting the outside, using his speed. That's very similar comparison like what a main SMG and a second SMG could be like. For example, on OpTic Gaming, you've got Scump, who loves going at the opposing team, pushing up the pace, and just out-skilling the opposing players. Well, then you've got Envoy, the second SMG, who loves finessing, who loves messing with the opposing team, who loves hitting flanks, who loves hitting the outside or the weird lanes or playing an S&D and doing those things. And that's why he's really effective. There are also examples like Simp and Abezy, who, you know, they're more of a very similar type of player, but Abezy does prefer doing a little bit more of the dirty work and getting in there and getting his hands dirty as the second SMG on that team, but prefers to be the entry player. He lets Simp come in behind him. And so those are the different types of contrasting styles with the main SMG and the second SMG on a team. Like I said, there's still the Slayer second SMG or the support second SMG, and both can work very effectively. Again, the Slayer SMG is like the Abezys, the Hukes, the Pristinis, guys who love flying around the map, finding those kills, working with their Slayer to really make those kills happen. And you've got like the support SMGs who are very much like the third down backs in the NFL. They are that change of pace. They're the guy that catches the ball. They're the guy that specializes and does some really important things around the map that you need to do at certain points. And those are guys like Priesta and, like I said, Envoy, who love hitting those weird angles or really helping their teammates and doing the things that their team needs them to do and playing like a weird style of Call of Duty. Those guys are very, very good at doing that. And that's why the second SMG is a very interesting comparison as a whole versus like what the main SMG Slayer would look like. So there it is, the roles of Call of Duty. I mean, as a whole, you know, figure out which role you are, figure out what your team's at inside of games, figure out what your team needs to be done, what jobs aren't being accomplished currently. And we talk about all this stuff all the time on the channel, breaking down pro gameplay and everything else. And also real quick, like I said at the beginning, on the gaming channel, I just posted a video of me going from all the way down to contenders inside of ranked play or inside of league play and seeing what that was like. The bot lobbies were insane, bro. You got to go check it out. It's on the gaming channel, links down in the description. It was a blast, and I'm going to be going from contenders to masters and seeing how long it takes to go the distance. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you guys enjoyed that video. If you guys did, like, comment, subscribe, share the video if you guys really enjoyed this. I'm trying to do this full time, and I cannot do that without you guys, so I really, really do appreciate it. But as always, guys, I'm your boy, Abezy, and we will see you next time. I'm out.